Now, there's nothing that I can tell you about the Nothing Phone 1 that you don't already know. This Glyph LED light-based phone has officially been unveiled, and while I've been testing this phone for a couple of days, this video is going to talk about what you get in the unboxing experience, and we're also going to be finalizing some of the speculative specifications that you've been hearing over the couple of days, and we'll also be killing all the rumors. But if you want to check out the full review of this device, that'll be coming in a few days. So you want to hit that subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell notification icon with all notifications turned on so that you get notified when the full review of the Nothing Phone 1 comes live. But let's quickly get started with the unboxing. Now, as you saw from the unboxing experience, the charger is not included in the box, so you will be able to buy a charger from Nothing separately, and they will happily sell it to you. But you do get a case that you can also order separately, which is a clear case. Inside the box, you'll also get the charging cable. And one interesting quirk is the SIM ejector tool, which I think looks really nice and is rather easy to hold and handle. Well, let's talk about the device itself. It's made out of a lot of recycled things. The aluminum or the metal is completely 100% recycled, and most of the plastics used are either bioplastics or recycled plastics. So it does have a small carbon footprint, and because of the size of the box and the slimness of its nature, you will have a reduction in carbon footprint as well because of the lowered shipping costs. But is that enough to make this phone exciting? Is a lowering of carbon footprint enough? Is a new young company capable of selling you a phone without a charger? I'm not too sure. I'm sure you guys will let me know in the comments below whether Nothing should have included a charger in the box, or you already have a quick charge 4 charger lying at home, because the company says to only charge the phone with a QC 4.0 charger or newer, but not everyone has a quick charge 4 charger lying at home, do they? Either way, you can see that the frame and the overall chassis of the phone is aluminum. It's a high-grade aluminum. It looks really nice. It reminds you of an iPhone design right off the bat. If you've seen this phone, a lot of people have already seen it, of course. So if you've seen it, it reminds you of an iPhone design, and it is very reminiscent of that. On the front, you do have a 6.55-inch flexible OLED display. You do have Corning Gorilla Glass 5 covering it. But the flexible display sort of folds in towards the back, so you do get a symmetrical bezel around the phone. But the bezel is pretty thick and people have been complaining about it. But because it's symmetrical, it doesn't look all that bad. And once you do put a case on it, you won't really notice it that much. If you do intend on getting the black color, that will also help hide the bezel if that is something that bothers you. I kind of like it. It looks nice and it lets you focus in on the display a little bit better. Bezels are not necessarily a bad thing, especially if they're symmetrical. So I don't have any issues with that. Because of the folded nature of the flexible OLED display, this sort of reminds me of what Apple did with the iPhone 10, where they folded in the display, and this sort of reminds you of that. So you do have those rounded off edges, and the overall design is also very similar to the newer generation iPhones. So that is going well for this device nonetheless. So the display is also 2400 by 1080p as far as the resolution is concerned, and it is 402 pixels per inch. It is an HDR10 plus display, and you do have 500 nits of brightness along with 1200 nits of peak brightness, so that is good. But the standard brightness number, the 500 nits, seems to be on the low side. It could have been higher, but since this is not the top of the line display that you can get, you definitely have some things missing out. This is a 120 Hertz display, and you do have 240 Hertz of touch polling, which again is not the best in the industry. but 120 Hertz is adaptive depending on the content on the screen. The front-facing camera is a 16 megapixel camera. You have a Sony IMX471 sensor with a 2.45 aperture, and you do have 1080p video recording at 30 frames per second. The front-facing camera does leave a lot to be desired. On the bottom of the phone, you'll see the USB Type-C port. There's also a dual SIM tray. There is no expandability via micro SD card, so you can forget that. But you do have the main microphone and one of the main speakers over here, primarily the loudspeaker. The secondary one is in the earpiece, much like the iPhones, but more emphasis is put on the bottom speaker. On the right is the power button, and while it does look like the fingerprint sensor sits in the power button, it actually sits in the front display. And at certain times I confused it for the camera shutter button because it is much lower than you would expect. And it also is in the exact place where the camera shutter button would be. And once you do have it on, it also does have the same graphic as the camera shutter button. So many times I sort of tap on it and sort of pull away because I think like I'm clicking a picture. I wish they put in a better sort of icon, maybe a fingerprint or something, to give it that look. On the top, you do have a secondary noise cancelling microphone. And on the left, you do have the volume buttons. And you can see lots of antenna bands around the phone itself. So you will not have any issues as far as those are concerned, as far as reception and network is concerned. On the back are your two main cameras. The 50 megapixel main camera is an IMX766 sensor with an f1.88 aperture. And you do have the secondary camera, the ultra wide, is a 50 megapixel camera, but this is the Samsung JN1 sensor, f2.2 on the aperture. So you do have a little bit of difference there in the sensors, but both of them are 50 megapixels, so that's good. And everything on the back, while they call it the transparent design, but this actually covers on the back plate and then a transparent glass on the back of the phone. So you can see these LED lights, and that's the glyph interface. And these are basically the lights that will light up when you do use the glyph interface. And I'll show you the user interface in just a second. And then you do have a recording light, which is the red LED over here. That can inform the person on the front that you are video recording, but this is controllable and you can turn it off if you don't want it. Now here's something that people are going to be bothered by. The phone is running on the Snapdragon 778G Plus chip. It's a good chip, it's a new chip, and it does have a decent performance in there, but it's not going to satisfy everyone, that's for sure. Most people want an 8 series chip. The 778G Plus is a relatively new chip, and it does have 4 A78 cores, one of which is running at 2.5 gigahertz, 3 are running at 2.4 gigahertz, and then you do have A55 cores, 4 of them running at 1.8 gigahertz. Those are your economy cores. And then you do have the 642L Adreno GPU, which is again something different. And then you also do have the Hexagon 770 AI processor. Phone is available in two options, 8GB plus 128GB and 12GB plus 256. If you're going to be using this for photography quite a lot, which I think you're going to end up using this, I would recommend the 256GB variant off the bat. You also do get the additional RAM, which can help you a lot. Because there is no expandability, there is no micro SD card, this is definitely recommended. Now, like I mentioned, the phone does have Gorilla Glass 5 on the front as well as the back, and it is IP53 rated, and you can get it in this white color as well as a black color if you so choose to. A case is available separately, which I would highly recommend, especially considering you want to keep this back panel safe and away from scratches. I would assume that third-party covers will also be available, and if you're somebody who doesn't like the exposed back design, you'll be able to slap on a third-party cover which will completely hide it and make it look more like an iPhone, if that's something that you're looking for. Now, the phone is running Android 12 with Nothing's own user interface, and I have to say this is the cleanest user interface in a while. Not only is this fast and responsive, some of the features and elements look really good on this. The widgets, the panels, the customization is pretty slick, and you do have some shortcuts to double click to turn on the camera, which is why these lights are coming on every time I do that. You can set it up from the camera settings over here. But these lights can also be used as fill lights if you're capturing video. So that's a good way to sort of fill up the environment and get yourself soft lighting. But you do have a regular flash as well if that is something that you are looking for on the phone. A regular flash is also available, but the glyph lights I think look cooler and would be really nice in a really dim environment to sort of fill up the sort of subject of your shot. But more importantly, the user interface, like I mentioned, is clean. And for the Glyph interface, you do have a separate UI element. And over there, you can go and set up not only the ringtones, there are 10 to choose from. You can also set up the notification alerts, which are also 10. Over the weekend, we did get a software update which now allows us to put custom sounds as well as ringtones, which is also great. A lot of people will be using this, but it is polarizing and a lot of people may not like it as well. So you guys let me know whether or not you think these lights are a good thing in the comments below. But like I said, these remind me of the good old Nokia phones where you could pop on those sort of radio frequency stickers. So every time you would get a phone call, the lights would blink. This has a similar kind of effect. Every time you get a phone call, these lights will blink. If you're the kinds who doesn't like it, you can turn it off. You also have this feature where if you put the phone down, it automatically goes into the silent mode and the lights sort of flash to tell you that. So now when you get a call, only the lights will flash and the sound will not come on. Again, all of these things are customizable and can be set as per your preference. Now the phone does have a 4500 mAh battery along with 33 watts of supported charging. So you do have that PD 3.0 wired charging standard, but it is recommended that you use a QC 4.0 certified charger. And you also have 15 watt of Qi wireless charging available, and the wireless charging pad is visible from here. And if you pop on a accessory, it does support 5 watts of reverse charging, and the Glyph lights also turn on to notify you that is happening. While you are charging, it also gives you a charging light at the bottom over here, which also kind of looks cool. I wish these lights were more customizable in other colors as well, maybe RGB lights, but they are probably saving that for the Nothing Phone 2, I assume. As far as 5G is concerned, you have tons of 5G bands and you do have Wi-Fi 6 dual band as well as Bluetooth 5.2. NFC is inbuilt into the device. So you do have all the workings of a modern day smartphone, including all the sensors that you would expect from the company, but the play is more on the user interface elements, as well as these lights and some of the sounds, including the ringtones and the sound effects that remind you of retro things like camera flashes and electronic buzzing and some old video games. And those things look and sound good and are great to begin with, but in the long run, is it something that you want to have on your phone at all times, and is it enough to sell? We'll have to see in the coming days, and our review, like we said, will be out for you guys shortly. Let us know what you think of the Nothing Phone 1, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to smash the like button. And if you have not already done that, make sure you hit the subscribe button if you want to check out our review of the Nothing Phone 1. This has been Bharat. You've been watching iGyan. I'll see you in the next one.